Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to carry on with the dude's video where he talks about Kathleen Zellner's 100-question challenge. So I'm going to load that one up. On the sound, click on share, move me away, click on play, and here we go.
Hello everybody, you have tuned in to Erekose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover virtually any aspect of making a murderer. I go over the evidence, the documents, the photos. So if you like, stay tuned, and in the future I'll have many more videos besides the one you're about to see. Hello everybody, we are here today to talk about KZ's 100 questions. So Kathleen Zellner put out this PDF basically with 100 questions on it, saying that anybody that could answer all 100 questions using case evidence and credible accounts and case basically pictures and documents from the case that can clearly point out and answer all 100 questions and point out Stephen Avery's guilt, that she will give them $10,000. So I hadn't had a chance to read it yet. I was this weekend I was really busy. I had work on Saturday, and then on Sunday I was helping transplant a tree, so I was kind of busy.
What? Busy planting a tree? Yeah. Should explain that bit. This video is obviously before the dude got his studio, which we affectionately refer to obviously as the TARDIS. And the TARDIS needed somewhere to land. The trouble is that the somewhere where it needed to land was right in the middle where a tree was growing. So the tree had to be physically replanted, and that's what the lengths that the dude went to set up his YouTube channel. I think it's worth mentioning because people don't realize the sort of hard work and effort that goes into that the dude put into doing his videos. But yeah, they spent a whole weekend. I don't think it was just the dude. I have to ask Aunt Cherie the full story about the replanting of the tree. I know that the tree had to be spared. It couldn't just be chopped down because it was of great significance. So anyway, I'll shut up and let carry on. So as I say, replanting a tree in order to allow the TARDIS to land somewhere.
So I just got around to reading this thing, and I gotta say, as I was reading it, I found it really amusing. I mean, the questions are highly valid, and I've really never ever heard a good answer to. I've never even really gotten a halfway decent answer on most of them. I've seen some attempts of people trying to explain a few of them that are kind of okay, I guess maybe could make sense, but anyways. So her first question is very valid. Explain why, if Mr. Avery was actively bleeding from his finger, as Mr. Kratz told the jury, there are only 6 spots of his blood in the RAV4. Explain why Mr. Avery's blood is not on the objects in the car that he would have grasped with his hands, which would have also resulted in him leaving fingerprints. So that's, something I pointed out in a video I did, about the cut on his hand and the where the blood was in the RAV4 and why it just didn't look right with me. So then she's asking why they didn't test all these things that supposedly he touched, the hood prop, the steering wheel, the gear shift, all those sorts of things, the brake release, the driver's receipt release bar, the hood prop, and all that stuff. So why was that never tested? So explain why for blood, I'm sorry. Explain why there are no fingerprints of Mr. Avery in the RAV4, but according to the prosecution, there is blood from his actively bleeding finger present in 6 spots, 5 of which are in the front of the vehicle, 1 on the rear passenger door jamb. Note that Miss Hallback's fingerprints are on the driver's door handle, and 8 latent prints are identified on the vehicle, none of which matched Mr. Avery, therefore ruling out that the car was wiped clean of fingerprints. That's sound logic. If there's 8 fingerprints there and none of those match Stephen Avery, then Stephen Avery couldn't have wiped it clean. That's, If Mr. Avery was planning to kill Miss Halbach, why wouldn't Mr. Avery have called Miss Halbach's cell phone, which she had given him, and arranged a meeting with her at a different location that couldn't be traced to him? Note, at the time, Miss Halbach's cell phone records did not show the phone numbers for incoming calls, so Mr. Avery's incoming call would not have been identified in Miss Halbach's phone records. Why would Miss Halbach have given Mr. Avery her cell phone number and called him on October 10th, as her cell phone records indicate, if she was afraid of him? I mean, those are valid points, and that's stuff that I've been doing videos about recently because Kratz keeps going around making these claims that she was scared. She was scared to go there and everything. I talked about it in my video about the Dr. Oz show when he brought it up there, and then I also talked about it again recently when he brought it up at CrimeCon. So, yeah, she was not afraid. So why would Miss Halbach have returned to the Avery property on October 31st if she was afraid, as the prosecution claimed? Why is there no forensic evidence, e.g. blood, hair, skin cells, fingerprints, of Miss Halbach in Mr. Avery's trailer if she was raped and stabbed there? Explain why not even a fragment of Miss Halbach's hair was found in Mr. Avery's trailer or garage when Brendan Dassey described cutting her hair. If you believe that Miss Halbach was killed in the trailer and that Mr. Avery and Brendan Dassey cleaned up the trailer so thoroughly as to remove any forensic trace of Miss Halbach, identify the specific cleaning chemical products and chemicals that could have been used to remove all traces of forensic evidence, blood, hair, skin cells, etc. What proof is there that Mr. Avery owned or purchased any of the specific cleaning products that you identified in question 13 at any time before the murder? Receipts, bottles, etc. What specific evidence was there of a cleanup in the trailer or in the garage, e.g. chemical residue, white marks, diluted stains? If Miss Halbach was handcuffed to the bed with Mr. Avery's handcuffs, why is her DNA not present on the handcuffs, but other individuals' DNA was on the handcuffs? Describe any forensic process known anywhere in the world which would remove one person's DNA from an object, such as the handcuffs, but leave someone else's DNA on the object. Why, if Miss Halbach was handcuffed to the bed and brutally raped, were there no striations on the post mounted 2.5 feet above the mattress on the headboard? What would be the point of Mr. Avery using *67 to allegedly conceal his identity if *67 calls are documented in his own phone records along with Miss Halbach's phone number? And most of that touches on one of my biggest problems with this case, and that's the fact that there is no evidence that a crime really ever took place anywhere on the Avery property. But obviously people disagree with that, but in my opinion, there's no proof of it. So, explain how Miss Halbach on 10/31 was unwittingly lured to the Avery salvage yard when she was given the Avery Road address for the appointment, and she had been to Avery Road no fewer than 5 times previously. Explain how Miss Halbach on 10/31 was unwittingly lured to the Avery salvage yard when Miss Halbach told Don Pliska of Auto Trader in a 2:27 p.m. call that she was on her way to the Avery property. Explain how Miss Halbach on 10/31 was unwittingly lured to the Avery salvage yard when there is a large sign that reads Avery's Auto Salvage at the entrance to the property on Highway 147. Did Miss Halbach have her eyes closed as she drove down Avery Road? If Miss Halbach were afraid of Mr. Avery, why did she allegedly confirm with Don Pliska at 2:27 p.m. on 10/31 that she was driving to the Avery salvage yard for her appointment? Explain why Miss Halbach's subkey was not discovered in Mr. Avery's bookcase by Sergeant Colburn on November 5th when he searched the bookcase for 1.5 hours. Provide any reenactment videos or photographs conducted with a similar bookcase which demonstrate that Miss Halbach's subkey could have been dislodged by the none too gentle twisting and turning of the bookcase, fallen through the gap between the back panel and the frame of the bookcase, and landed by Mr. Avery's slippers located on the northwest side of the bookcase. That I have a video about that, as some of you may know. I think it's impossible what Colburn is describing he did to get that key to fall out. But I have a video about that. I'll leave it in the information below. Explain why, if Sergeant Colburn twisted and turned the bookcase, all the loose change and other items on top of the bookcase remained in place and did not fall to the floor. Explain why Miss Halbach was using a sub key and not the master key, which she is holding in a photograph of her with the RAV4. Explain why Miss Halbach's DNA was not on her sub key, which prosecutors claim she used every day, but Mr. Avery's DNA was on the subkey. Describe and identify any experiments that you have conducted with a similar subkey in which you have been able to remove the primary owner's DNA and substitute another individual's full DNA profile by simply having that other individual hold the key in their hand. Or, in the alternative, describe any experiments with an exemplar subkey and blood in which the blood of one individual concealed the DNA of another individual on the exemplar subkey. Basically, pointing out how impossible it is that there's not Teresa's DNA anywhere on these items, only Stephen's. And if Stephen rubs off Teresa's DNA off the key, what good does that really do? Because if the key ever gets found and it's on his property as it was, it doesn't matter if her DNA is on it. The fact that it was found there alone is enough to, bring prosecution. He also knows a lot of people may be enticed to go after this $10,000, and they may end up looking into this case on their own, and they're going to learn a few things. Seems like a brilliant way to get more people interested in this case, and and learning about it and seeing what's wrong with it. Explain how Stephen and Brendan removed all traces of forensic evidence from the garage. Describe the cleaning solutions and chemicals used to accomplish this feat. Explain why the bullet fragments were not discovered in the earlier searches of the garage. Why, if Mr. Avery removed the forensic evidence of Miss Halbach from his garage, did he leave his own DNA in the garage? If Mr. Avery removed the forensic evidence of Miss Halbach from his garage, how did he distinguish between his DNA and Miss Halbach's DNA? Explain why the creeper, which the state claimed Mr. Avery used to transport Miss Halbach's body, had no forensic evidence of Miss Halbach on it. Why would Stephen and Brendan carry Miss Halbach's body from the trailer to the garage, but then decide to place her on the creeper to roll her out to the burn pit 15 yards away? Why wouldn't Mr. Avery dispose of Miss Halbach's body somewhere other than his own burn pit, which was 30 yards from his own back door? All very valid questions. And again, touches on the fact that there is no proof of a crime taking place at Avery Salvage. And I think I've made it abundantly clear that I believe that the crime scene was somewhere else and it was concealed. But moving on. If Mr. Avery cleaned his garage so thoroughly, why did he leave the bullet fragments on the floor? Explain how the prosecution's blood spatter expert was correct in describing the blood on the inside rear cargo door was impact blood rather than cast-off blood stains. Explain why there is not more of Miss Halbach's blood on the carpet of the RAV4 cargo area when the prosecution never claimed that Miss Halbach was placed in a tarp. Explain why the prosecution failed to tell the jury that Miss Halbach's bloodstain patterns in the rear cargo area demonstrated that the RAV4 was moving while Miss Halbach's body was in the rear cargo compartment. So that pretty much makes it the statement that Stephen and Brendan put her into it in the garage and then took her right back out inexplicably, puts that, to shame because she was driven around in there. It's, is what Zellner's saying. Explain why bullet fragment item FL had no garage dust on it, even though the concrete in the garage was jackhammered and all other items in the garage were covered in dust, as the crime scene photographs illustrate. So that's another great point, because they were jackhammering that concrete in the, they believed that they were going to find traces of blood in the crack, so they jackhammered it and created all kinds of dust in there. Why wouldn't this bullet have it? So now we're going to show you something that Tom Fassbender said during the Brennan interview. This is a clip from an upcoming video I'm doing about Brendan Dassey's confession March 1st.
You sure that she wasn't taken out to the garage alive and some of this stuff was done to her out there?
Oh.
Hanging from a rafter or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
The worst is over. You're not going to shock us or anything by telling us if that happened. Because I just have a feeling that something may be there.
Something may be there, you say, Tom? Interesting. Almost like he expected to find the bullet, the one with no dust on it. Gotta love this question. Provide an explanation, other than by divine intervention, of how Miss Sturm and her daughter could have located Miss Halbach's vehicle within 20 minutes among 4,000 vehicles on a 29.6 acres of Avery salvage yard if they had not been told where the car was located prior to the search. And yeah, that's been the question everybody's been asking since day one. But yeah, other than by divine intervention. Don't forget, guys, if you're going to try to explain that one, remember, no divine intervention. No God led me to it. That doesn't count. Explain why Pamela Sturm was the only searcher provided with a camera by Mr. Hillegas. Explain why Ryan Hillegas was never questioned about the 21 unknown phone calls he received on November 4th between 3:45 p.m. and 7:25 p.m. Gee, that's funny. That's the evening before the RAV4 is found. Explain how Stephen and Brendan could be the killers when unidentified blood deposits on the rear cargo door exclude both of them. Explain why Ryan Hillegas accessed Teresa Halbach's singular account at 5:48 p.m. before the investigators arrived at Miss Halbach's residence. Why was the singular account accessed a second time at 7:18 p.m. when Mr. Hillegas was not present? Why didn't the investigators investigate that Miss Halbach had appointments in Sheboygan in the morning on 10/31? If the original burn site for Miss Halbach's body was the Avery burn pit, why are 60% of the bones and all the teeth but one missing? Why are the bone fragments found in the grass several feet from the burn pit? Why is the suspected human pelvic bone from the Redant pit never microscopically examined? Why are the bones not melded into the wire of the burn pit? Why is the skeleton not in the normal anatomical position described at other open pit cremations? Why did the missing persons poster describing Miss Halbach's vehicle not describe the front end damage to the parking light if the damage existed prior to her disappearance? Explain why Scott Blodorn, who claimed that Miss Halbach was never gone overnight, never reported her missing. Why do the investigators not discover who had possession of Miss Halbach's day planner? Why does Mr. Kratz tell the jury that the RAV4 is not visible on the flyover video on November 4th because it is covered in branches, when the edited flyover video given to the defense does not even show that area where the RAV4 was located? Why does the microscopic examination of the hood latch swab fail to reveal any evidence that the swab ever touched a hood latch? Which is absolutely true, because anybody knows that underneath the hood you're going to get some carbon, some black, some whatever, carbon monoxide builds up and that carbon is black and it builds up on everything in the engine compartment. There should have been a significant amount of black on that swab. I mean, that's a valid point. So I get the impression from these questions that, like I said, she's really trying to get a bunch of people engaged and looking into this and really, really taking a look at it. Because, yeah, a lot of $10,000 is going to be a motivation for a lot of people to try and prove Stephen guilty. So, explain why 60% of Miss Halbach's remains were missing from the burn pit, including all but one of her teeth. If the pit was the primary burn site, explain why the CD recording of Miss Halbach's call to the Zipperer's answering machine at 2:13 p.m. was never turned over to the defense and is now missing from the prosecution's case file. Explain why Mr. Hillegas was not asked by the investigators to provide an alibi. Explain why Mr. Blodorn was not asked by the investigators to provide his DNA. Explain why Scott Taddock was not asked to provide his DNA or fingerprints to the police. Explain why Mr. Hillegas was not asked by the investigators to provide his DNA. Explain why Mr. Hillegas was not asked by the investigators to provide his fingerprints. Explain why Mr. Hillegas told the investigators a false story that the Halbach family told Mr. Hillegas that Miss Halbach had damaged the driver's side parking light of her vehicle, made an insurance claim, received compensation, but had not used the proceeds to repair the parking light. So I did a video about that one, and I'll leave it in the info below too, but I did a video talking about that. And yeah, Ryan lied, or well, Ryan tells this story that she got the insurance money for it. She got a lump sum. Well, Zellner has proven that wrong. She's contacted the insurance company, and the insurance company has basically laid it right out there. No, we did not pay out a claim on that around that time, and basically on that insurance policy. Basically, Teresa's on the RAV4. So, that's a proven lie that Ryan told. Why is Ryan lying? Well, I mean, hey, if you guys don't, if there's people out there that don't think Ryan did anything, why is he lying? I mean, I'm not saying, oh, he's absolutely the one that did it, but I am asking, why is he lying? Because it's obvious he's lying. So it just begs the question, why? What's he hiding? So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and let it go there. The question 100 is pretty good. I'm going to leave the link for this document below in the info for you guys to go check this out. But question 100 is basically taking a bunch of Kratz statements, proving why they're wrong, and giving whoever wants to try a chance to try to attempt to explain Ken Kratz's words. And that's basically what it is. But I've picked on Ken Kratz enough lately, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone. But it also is out there, I mean, with the $10,000 price tag, it's now got other people going, oh, wait, $10,000? And they're actually considering looking into the case, and they may learn a few things, like I said. So some people think she's, like, addressing the guilters or engaging the trolls, but I think it's more about she wants to discredit the claims that all those people are making, that all those web sleuths and, hey, dare I say, some of the Kratz and company might be in on that, crowd. So they don't want to answer it because they don't want to give their IDs up. So that's going to about do it for today, folks. I just wanted to go ahead and cover this because I had an inordinate number of people on my channel this weekend, calling me a jerk and a jackass and a moron and a retard. And I was just wondering, why I had so much more activity. And so I had to check this thing out because I'm pretty darn sure that this is why. They got a bit agitated when they read this and saw how difficult it would be. But anyway, so that's about it. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. We'll talk to you later.
Wow. Let's just stop sharing there. I've written down a few things. I mean, that bit at the end, let's do that first, getting insults from guilters. Honestly, it was like water off a duck's back to Erekose, compared with the banter that we used to have. I mean, we would go at it hammer and tong, and it wasn't just the ferocity of it. It was over sustained periods, you're unfortunately, you'll never be privy to some of the Captain Crunch debates, but honestly, voice message after voice message after voice message, back and forward, and every swear word under the sun you can imagine was, and a few others, were being banded around. But obviously, in the heat of the battle, we're allowed to do that, and it was great fun, I must admit. I think the dude figured out pretty early on that I might come up, try and come across as this this cussing, swearing person that used to work as a mechanic, but it was all good fun, and it's all nonsense, which is exactly what the guilters are. I don't know about you, but I found it very interesting, the questions. I've put questions equal Making a Murderer series 2. I think we just saw, didn't we, the blueprint for Making a Murderer series 2. Everything in those questions are dealt with in Making a Murderer series 2. And for me, the probably the best question was the one about the fact that, if you're going to clean up a crime scene, it's very difficult to, again, not leave the evidence of having done so. There would be wipe marks everywhere. This idea that Uyghur presents that, oh, well, they had 5 days to clean up. As Dean Strang said, Stephen Avery has been accused of a lot of things, but, being, house proud and, taking time to go around and polish and, clean everything. No. And there would be the wipe marks of cleaning up that amount of blood. Stuff. Anyway, yeah, I've had quite a lot of people over particularly the last week, but ever since we lost the dude nearly a year ago, we miss him tremendously. We all do, but it's very important that we keep his memory and legacy alive and kicking, and that's what we're going to do. The Richard McAdam Advocacy Foundation is obviously going from strength to strength. Hopefully we'll have news with regards to that pretty soon. I know that they're looking at a candidate to receive the first grant, if you like. Anyway, I'm not going to say any more. Looking forward, obviously, at some point over the weekend to having a chat with the Moose. And also a chat with Cherie Hull, who got in touch with me. There's some good news, coming from, with regards to other cases. It's good how the Court of Appeals are really looking at the legal system and saying, as the dude would say, this cannot abide. I think it was one of the Bushes that first said that, but yeah, it was the dude that really coined that phrase, you know, cannot abide it. And he kept going on with the dude abides, the dude abides. Anyway, the dude abides. He certainly abided me anyway. And the rest of us, didn't he? He's very much missed. That's really all I'll say on that for now. Great listening to him, just reading through the document, you know, just to hear him, you know. You don't even have to see him. You can imagine him, can't you, with the big jug of Dr. Pepper. Anyway, I'm going to stop havering, and we'll catch you all again soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.